Good day, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out. We really appreciate that. My name's Rick McLean, and my colleague over there, Mitch Baird, on the other side. We balance each other out, a little yin and yang. So some of you are familiar with what's this initiative, and some of you, it's new. So I thought I would start right at the beginning and just kind of move us forward so that we're all on the same page this morning. Well, almost this afternoon, right? For quite some time, different groups and community members and community leaders in what we call maybe Fort Erie West have noticed that, we're growing, some neat things are happening here, there's opportunities, there's development, and yet, most of the development for Fort Erie as a town tends to be on the east side. So when we do a mapping of services and a mapping of opportunities and businesses, most of the stuff tends to be down that way, even though a lot of stuff's happening here. Geez, I wonder if we should look at that, said these community leaders. And they got together, and indeed, it becomes really clear when you look at that's how things have grown in Fort Erie for the past little while, right? So under the leadership of, it started with Advancing Crystal Beach to write a Trillium grant and say, we should try and get some more information. Let's do a formal study and really try and find out, is that the case, and what can we do about that? So Orma Bleeks and her hard-working group stomped the grounds, and of course with a Trillium grant, you need to be able to have partners, right? They want to be able to see that this isn't just a one agency, doing a Superman or Superwoman show. So they paired up with the Beachcombers, which is wonderful, and that's we're here today, and also with the Fort Erie Native Friendship Center. And so those three agencies became the initial steering committee of this initiative, along with the town. And the town has been absolutely amazing with their support and coming out and information, so we really appreciate that. So that's where we begin. So they were successful in the Trillium grant, and our consulting firm was able to do the feasibility study. It was fantastic. In that for all the other studies that we've done, if you get about a 5 to 10% response rate, you're doing really well. We had almost 1,000 respondents, from right around here. And when you think about the population of Fort Erie West, that was significant. We also held several different community information sessions to be able to talk about it and hear from folks and ask for their advice. So that was terrific. We got to present to town council, and we wrote the report. So over where Mitch is, I believe, on the other side, we have a summary of the... Oh, where is it? Oh, at the table too, thank you. We have a summary of the feasibility study, because the study itself ended up being a couple hundred pages. And we thought that we didn't need to kill all those trees. But you might be interested in some of the findings. Consistently across the board in all the areas that we did some studying and got respondents, there were priorities. First was medical services. People were saying, if we're going to get something down here in Fort Erie West, wow, we would like maybe, doctors, chiropractors, all that other kind of stuff, we need that. And Joanne from the town has been terrific. She was able to inform us and educate us that really when you look at it, we probably could use about 6 or 8 doctors in Fort Erie. Something to that effect, right? And your article in the Standard was terrific recently, educating us. So thank you for that. The second one, and this was very interesting, was mental health services. And the reason I found it so interesting was because no matter what age group we asked, no matter what socioeconomic background we asked, everybody was, I guess we're pretty stressed out. Life is pretty challenging. And, so supports for mental health services was huge as far as that one. And then came along with seniors services, youth services, and sometimes we don't think about that here. There tends to be a reputation that, Ridgeway, Crystal Beach, it's just really senior people, it's just older people. Well, that's not what the study said. The study said that there's lots of young people here looking for, some meaningful activities to be able to do. So those, and the final one was a gathering place. And when we dug down into that and we excavated, we found it really interesting. What people were saying, really, when we did one-on-one interviews was, at the church we used to hang out, or at the synagogue, or at the mosque, or wherever your faith-based place was, that's where we used to gather. That was the gathering place, right? Well, that's not so anymore, and I mean, our community is so diverse, it's not really inclusive to do that in one of our faith-based places. You know what was next? It was our public schools, right? I don't know about you guys, but I remember being able to, rent out the public schools easily and doing stuff, and that's where we would do, because there was space. Well, we can't do that anymore, right? For a whole bunch of reasons, and that's not a criticism. It's just, not practical to do that anymore. So where do we go? Where do we go as a community to be able to have a gathering place? And this is what people were saying, people, it's lonely, it's disconnected. Where can we go? You can come here, and this is a wonderful place, but it has a certain mandate, right? It's beachcombers, it's 50 plus, and that's what it's meant, So where are we going to go as a community? So they want a space. So that's what the feasibility study said. Round two, then, part two of our study is to take that information forward to engage folks. So that's why we're so very grateful that you're here today. And say, okay, we came up with some ideas about what this should look like. Can you help us form it? And then we want to have several meetings with interested folks as soon as possible so that we can start formulating business plans, so that we can start applying for funding, those kinds of things. So on your table, the steering committee wanted to make sure you had every opportunity to be able to say, yeah, you know what? I'm interested. So what is the vision? Over again by Mitch, over there, while you're out and about doing things. We did a mock-up of a building, right? We're not architects or anything else like that, but we wanted to be able to carve out space as to what would it look like, So there's a gymnasium there. There's a workout room, because that came out strongly, but it also came out from doctors and medical professionals who said, what we do now is holistic care. That's really what we do. We want to be able to refer patients to say, okay, 3 times a week you're going to do those exercises, then you're going to come back and see me, right? So it was important to have that kind of stuff there. We built a gathering space that would have Wi-Fi, tables, so whether you're youth or senior or someplace in between, if you just want to hang out with your laptop and get a coffee from the social enterprise, do that. If we want to start to network as a community that way informally, we could do that. We built a kiosk so that we could have a community information expert, and that would be one of the first employees of the hub. Because people are saying, I don't know where to get information, I don't know where to go, I'm feeling disconnected. Can you imagine if we were able to afford somebody who knew everything that was happening, always in the town and around, and so, you could always find out what was happening. We built some spaces for medical services, we built spaces for cubicles for itinerant services, so that any of you agencies out there, if you're able to help, maybe you only come out one afternoon a week or something like that, but there could be a cubicle that's there that works for you, to your needs. Or maybe you want to be an anchor tenant. Maybe you're saying, you know what, I could do a lot of business here. If you want to build me 2,000 square feet, I'm here. We're happy to hear that too. All right, so that's where we're going. And once we have your feedback, again, please let us know if we can come visit you. We would love to. All right. Based on that, we will reformulate our vision and our governance strategy and get you guys back into a room, those of you who said that you were interested, and let's start to map some things out. But, we also want to be inspired, and it's been done before, so we're very fortunate to have Bill Davidson here, and he's a terrific speaker. I've been able to see some of his stuff, and he'll be able to tell us his best practices as well, so maybe we as a community will be able to learn stuff. I know I'm really anxious to hear from you. So that's where we're at, and after Bill speaks, then we'll make sure that we have some time for question and answer too at the end if you're able to stay with us. Okay, and we want to be able to capture all that. Maybe that'll build a frequently asked questions thing that we can put on our website. So don't forget, we have that website. We're gonna make sure that we have our updates there, and that's my gabbing for this morning.